we like to use in the Arkansas from CPW is if you replace a diversion structure that's aging, you might give a ditch company a better water supply, more reliable water supply, but you could then make that structure boat passable for the rafting industry. You could make it fish passable for the fishery, gold medal status again on the Arkansas. So you start to see these multi-benefit projects out of our database. The bottom note is that what we're realizing is the roundtable started thinking more and more about, well, what are these multi-benefit, get some environmental or recreational benefit out of what we thought was just a conveyance project. So the roundtable in the future will continue to refine this database and add attributes as needed. And then here's a map that shows that the data in the database has location information. So those projects can be put on a map, and the map can be updated as the projects are updated. So I mentioned this is in Excel, and we wanted to make this user-friendly to whoever wanted to know what's in this database. And so we created this report generator in Microsoft Excel. It's very easy to use. There's this interface that I've shown here. There's two options. A user can use option one, where they just simply click on a button and they will get a PDF of the master needs project list that you find in your basin implementation plan. So that lets you get a one-to-one summary of all of the projects in our plan. But the real benefit of this tool is option two, where a person can select a custom set of filters in order to find projects interested in. So example, you could say, show me all of the IPP projects. I don't want to see the rest of them. Or you could say, I want to see the IPPs in Chaffee County that have to do with agriculture. And you click the button, and that then spits out the list of projects that meet those criteria. So it's really user-friendly, and it lets the database be collaborative, and all the different agencies and people involved can see what others are doing in the basin. So you can start to find those win-win projects and maybe collaborate on permitting, design, funding, and so forth. And that's my section, so I will turn it back over.
Thank you, Kyle. Again, for the record, this is Barbara Biggs. So the last section of the BIP that we modified since the draft was the water quality and water conservation. And one of the things we tried to recognize in the BIP is that the definition of water conservation is changing, and that it really is more than just water conservation. It's water system management, and that includes management of all the various elements within a water system, and that water conservation and water quality are very closely tied in a basin like the Arkansas. We actually use the Southeast Colorado Water Conservancy District Regional Water Conservation Plan as our model for the water conservation section. Some of the key projects that we identified in the updated water quality, water conservation section involve master metering for all water utilities. You can't manage what you don't measure. So master metering. The creation of the Lower Arkansas Water Quality Working Group to start to address the water quality issues on the Lower Arkansas River. Many of you are familiar with the issues with nitrate and selenium and conflicts with the state of Kansas, although I think I get to hear about more of those on the Water Quality Control Commission than you get to hear about here. We also were trying to develop a tool that could help the small communities. There's a lot of small communities in the Lower Arkansas Basin, and they need help working with CDPHE to work on environmental, or to work on compliance assistance rather than an enforcement approach. So that's the focus of the, okay, thank you. The focus of that chapter. So that's the elements of the water quality, water conservation. Then finally, we've spent a lot of time talking about a cyclical planning process. And this is really the Arkansas Basin Roundtable's vision of a planning process for the state of Colorado. It assumes kind of a 6-year cycle, starting right now with the, oh, wait a minute, that went really fast. Hold on. It's much cooler than that. There, oops. Let me slow it down. So it's 2015. We completed the Basin Implementation Plan. SWASI 2016 is kicking off. We're going through developing the quality information so that we can move forward through time to SWASI 2022. I know we're all looking forward to that. But the point here is that this is a living document with a living database, so that we really want what the basin has now is a tool that will help them progress into the future. We've also, the Basin Roundtable has also convened the conversations. I talked about the Watershed Health Working Group is now the Arkansas River Watershed Collaborative. Similar to the Gunnison Basin, we worked with the Division of Water Resources for the development of the Basin Implementation Plan and identified a number of historic reservoirs that are under restrictions that need to be rehabbed. So the Basin Roundtable has started the discussion for rehab, improving, maintaining the storage reservoirs and expanding the storage capacity of those reservoirs. There's also been an enhanced discussion of multi-purpose projects. So we're really, as Kyle said, we're really trying to emphasize the implementation part of a basin implementation plan. And finally, the fact that those IPMPs will now have to be reviewed and prioritized by the basin. We all know that we've got more needs than we have money. So the Arkansas Basin Roundtable has a very set procedure so that they can, their needs assessment committee evaluates water supply grant applications before they go to the full Basin Roundtable so that they can start that process of prioritizing projects and moving those IPMPs into the implementation phase. And with that, the whole team would be happy to answer any questions, but thank you.
Great. Thank you, Barbara. Any questions or Director Hamill? Do you have any summation? I'm sorry. Director Gallagher.
Thank you for your presentation, Barbara, and your colleagues. That's very informative. What I've found in this process is that we have in all these BIPs, we've garnished these nuggets of process, and there are things that we can use in our BIP as we move forward that you've developed that we don't have to invent. So I appreciate your leadership and insight into resolving some of these questions. Obviously, we don't have as many IPPs to deal with, but these are all good questions in terms of understanding what to bring forward and what to leave behind. So thank you for your hard work on this.
Thank you very much, Director Gallagher.
Director Hamill.
Well, it really has been a team effort. When we brought the draft Basin Implementation Plan a year ago, I think Barbara, and welcome back to the board. It's been great working with you on this project and the whole team. I would class our draft as a Basin Implementation Plan light. It lacked projects, it lacked methodologies or ways to move forward. And this team came together, and the team included the roundtable.
Absolutely.
It included the executive committee that really engaged in this. I don't know how many trips Jay and Jim and Terry, either by phone or driving, and others on the executive committee and on the technical committees. So it was more hands-on, and the team worked closely together to get to the final Basin Implementation Plan. And just can't compliment the team enough, because really, and as Director Gallagher pointed out, this last tool we developed is available to any basin that would want to track projects. It's transferable, it's not proprietary. So we want to share what we've learned in the process. So just thank you. And we're probably in my director's report tomorrow, I'll talk a little bit about the watershed health effort and what Kyle touched on tomorrow.
Thank you, Director Hamill. Director Smith?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Barbara, I was just thinking here that you had the privilege of getting your fingerprints all over Swazi and then the start of the roundtable process and thinking about this whole journey since about 2003. Yep. And I'm just pleased with the Arkansas's approach, especially in regards to watershed health, and I'm sure the other basins they mention that, or it might be on the back page somewhere. But the watershed health and how we manage our watersheds, and just the gumption that the Arkansas Basin showed by go ahead and getting formed and getting that together. And I'm pleased with especially the watershed health section. And it is great to see you. She was a great board member. So it's just that she's made the full circle here from from Swazi to now consultant, and it's great.
Great. Director Eklund?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Barbara, and your colleagues. Just a couple of points. This is a fantastic basin implementation plan. You've done a lot of work. You've started to answer the question, which is the next agenda item after we hear from all of the basin roundtables on their BIPs, which is what next? This plots a solution for that for your basin, from your basin's perspective. So you've kind of done some homework for Director Hamill that he's not going to have as heavy a lift as probably some of the other board members. But in any event, Kyle, appreciate the work that you guys have done on the spreadsheet. I know you've put it in an Excel format. I think moving forward with the water plan, we want to make sure that we're using as much open source data as possible. So to the extent you have data that can be easily, put into a simple TIFF file and put on a website that is easily accessible by us and members of the public who want to do that, it's really a good thing to be doing. So I appreciate the work and keep it up.
Great. Any more accolades? We really do appreciate that. That was a great plan, and really the Arkansas Basin has showed several of the other basin roundtables some good ideas and a path forward. So thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Jacob, you're up again.
Almost done. Jacob Bornstein, CWCB staff for the record. Next, we have Carl Hanlon, who is going to present the Colorado Basin Implementation Plan.
Sorry, I am the tardy one. Being an attorney, I didn't have my materials in on time. So while we're loading up, you guys can give me a hard time about that. Carl Hanlon with the firm of Carpnew Hanlon, but really today I'm before you as a member of the Colorado Basin Roundtable. I've sat on that roundtable since it was formed as the municipal rep for Garfield County, and I'm really standing in for Jim Pokrant, who apologizes for not being here today, but he commented that he had a day job that he had to do as well. So I'd like to first thank you, the board, and particularly the staff of the CWCB. In this iteration of our basin implementation plan, it has gone through a fairly large evolution, if you will, from how it looks, and a couple of pieces that, sorry, loud voice, I'll step away from the mic, and from how it looks and some of the information that's contained in it. I'd also like to thank the team, SGM, Lewis Meyer, Angie Fowler, Brendan Langenheisen, Kathleen Curry, Hannah Holm, and myself, and Peter Mueller, who were all on the original team. Since that time, I was tasked with trying to tighten up the text, if you will, and SGM was tasked with creating what is section 4 now in the BIP, which is a project list, a top priority project list. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to run you through first. Obviously, you guys know where we're at. We're a very large basin. We're made up of Summit, Grand, Eagle, Pitkin, Garfield, and Mesa counties. And if you can imagine the differences from the ski areas in Summit County to the orchards in Mesa County and the vineyards, wide variety of interests ranging from agriculture all the way up and down the basin to resorts, to a rafting industry in the Middle River, particularly below Shoshone and in my neck of the woods in Glenwood Springs. So I'm going to start with a little bit of math, because in the Colorado Basin, obviously we think a lot about these things, and it has really driven the process for us is to think about where we're at and where we're headed with regard to the math. We have 450 to 600,000 acre feet are already diverted by Trans Mountain Diversions, or TMDs. We have about another 140,000 acre feet to be diverted by current IPPs and the full use of existing systems. which when you think about it, that's another very large trans mountain diversion that is already on the books in various forms for us that we have to look at when we're planning for our future. And the current diversions already are about 25% of the consumptive use for all of Colorado. So that's kind of the pull at the upper part of the basin, and then the pull at the lower part of the basin is that obviously we have to deal with the 1922 compact and the power pool and Powell. And so we have both above us and below us, we have things that are pulling on the resources that are available and what we do with those. And I don't know why nothing showed up on that. There we go. So we had, as we developed this, a huge outreach program, lots of meetings, and we came up with 6 basic themes that came out of that. And I'm just going to summarize them as healthy streams, sustain agriculture, secure safe drinking water, develop local water conscious land use strategies, assure dependable